Hi everybody. Hey, the Barracks just re-released the old video part of mine from 2012 that I filmed in the old Barracks, and it got me thinking. And I was thinking, oh man, I should just do a funny kind of behind the scenes and a play-by-play of that video. You know, it's sort of when I put it out with them, it was very under the radar at the time, and I think they just kind of put it out and were like, yeah, there you go. He filmed this stuff in here because it was. Not that they didn't know I was filming in the Barracks, but it was definitely one of those things where, you know, it was kind of impromptu. And so when they put the video out again a few days ago, they gave it a very ambitious title, like deeply flattering to me just because of the work I put in. But also I just felt like at the time that it was, you know, put out or whatever, that it, not that I felt underappreciated at all, because I was shocked in the best way at the way it, sort of did. But I just thought it'd be cool for you guys, since, you know, you've watched it for a few years now, to just kind of give you the insight behind it, and then like what was really going on, certain like questions that you've had of like how, why, when. So I'll probably just run you through that, and I'll do the fancy move of the old picture in picture, you know, and I'll point to where the screen actually isn't. The Barracks was just blowing up at that point, especially because it was the old Barracks, and it was like the whole thing was very new, and it just felt like the Barracks was the epicenter of skateboarding and sort of like the CNN of what was going on. And I thought it was a really cool concept for them to kind of wrangle all of skateboarding and be able to kind of put it out in a way that was obviously easily digestible, but also at the same time sort of organized and like different categories of whatever. And it reminded you of like 4-in-1 Video Magazine and things like that, but it's in its own style. And I just thought they kind of, you know, had that very locked down in a great way. And so, like everyone, I was like, where is the Barracks? Where is the secret base? Can I get in there? I would love to see where they film stuff and all the obstacles and what do they look like in real life. And so it was actually, I was here in LA, and I was just like, you know, chasing down stunts and trying to, you know, work in movies or whatever. But in the meantime, my friend Tom Carter, he was really good friends with Grant Yansura, who was filming at the Barracks at the time. And if you don't know Tom Carter, he's an amazing, well, I don't even know where to begin, filmer, editor. And so he and Grant were good friends, and I'm sure they skated together and probably lived by each other at the time. But unbeknownst to me, Tom never even talked to me about it. I don't think, maybe I talked to him on the phone or something, but he told Grant, hey, you should just film a part, not even a part, but he was like, you should just film a bangin' with William in the Barracks. And I think it was one of those ideas where Grant was like, you know, because if you know Grant now, he's like, does weekend skateboards, and he's like in charge, just doing really well for himself. And also he's just able to curate great skits and great he's awesome. But I think for him, it was sort of like just a curiosity of like, oh, I've seen his footage. I mean, maybe it would be crazy. So he sort of said yes to it. And then what ended up happening between everybody else who was filming it there at the time, which you can imagine the heavy hitters that were all around, I was sort of trying to just kind of like, I mean, I guess I was allowed in there, but really, you know, Grant's like, all right, we got this much time before so-and-so gets here, so just get down here. And so it would be like kind of a rush, like, what now? He's like, yeah, now's the day. And so I didn't have like a solid plan for like what I really, you know, was even going to do in there. But I was like, dude, the opportunity to be in the Barracks, that place rules. Everything that I've seen from in there is awesome. Like, you know, I'll figure it out. And so I would go in there super randomly and just try and get stuff nailed down when I could. Grant would try and get me in there when he could, sneak me in the back door, whatever. The version of it that sounds the funniest or the most interesting is that he would kind of sneak me in there when he could between whoever was filming a Battle Commander or a Bangin' at the time, you know? So, I mean, I got to hang with Costin a little bit when he was in there, and I was obviously blown away, boy. And just so many people that I, looked up to in skateboarding. And so I would sort of get to see them skate for a second. And as soon as they were done, I'd try and jump in there and figure out what I was going to do. Well, if you know my skateboarding at all, I am not a fast filmer of tricks, or sort of like, and I mean this in the way, I just kind of cook things all the way. I don't really rush anything like that. But the tricks I kind of had cooked up in there, I really wanted to turn out in a way that was like just surprising, because the Barracks has just been shredded to death. So many great people have been in there and just murdered that place that I was like, man, I'd like to approach this place in a little bit different perspective so that when people watch this, because they've seen the inside of the barracks so many times, let's give them something that they're kind of like, what did I just watch? So that is my whole backup plan, or behind the scenes thought process. That was all I was thinking. So every time I would go in there, I had a few ideas that, I would try and then wouldn't work, or I thought were going to work. And then I would just have to try again the next week or next 2 weeks. And I think I jumped on some stunt jobs in between, and it must have taken me, this is so embarrassing, but I bet you on and off, like jumping in and filming a couple of days and then leaving for a trip to go do stunts on something and then coming back to town and then lining it up where no one was in it. I bet you it took a year to come up with that footage. And you're thinking to yourself, William, that was just 1 minute of footage. Don't I know it? Trust me, I was fighting for every single one. Once again, this video was sort of under the radar, so there was no, you're going to be surprised, there was no timeline for it, and there was also no one expecting it. My good friend Richie Jackson would go into the barracks with me, and because I thought to myself, like, dude, this is a pretty big deal to me. This is sort of a skateboard headquarters, of sorts. And so the intimidation of kind of going in there by myself was pretty high for me. And so when I brought him in with me, it just made me feel better about everything. Like, at least Team Weird is here together, And so he would go in with me, and sometimes he would even, there's quite a few clips in there, and I'll try to remember which ones as we do the play-by-play, but there are definitely a lot of clips in there that he actually films. It's cool. When I took Richie in there and I was filming, we would cross paths with Chase, and Chase would be filming who knows who in there, getting their battle commander done, or their banging, or first try Friday, whatever day we kind of landed on. And as Richie was in there, he started talking to Chase, and they're kind of just hanging around and whatever. And at some point, it went from me trying to get my video done to full blown. Richie was like, "Well, I guess I'm filming a battle commander now." And I was like, "Oh, that's really great. Of course, I'm happy for him, dude. Battle commander, come on, that's freaking amazing." Because what ended up happening accidentally is that it went from me going in there whenever I could, jumping in, to Richie being like, "Hey, I'm really sorry you can't film today because I'm filming a battle commander. And if you're lucky, at the end of my session, you might get a little bit of time." And so it was just it was already hard to get in there. And I was like, wow, life, you really want to see if I want to make this video or not, because I think, and maybe not, but in my mind, other people would have been like, this just feels like a no. Like, you don't have any time. Your friend is now doing something that's very official in there. You should just let it go. But I'm not really one to give up on things in general easily. So it was good. And, it was cool, even though obviously Richie, he was fully focused on his thing too. We were able to get this kind of cool clip for his part that I hadn't done in a while. And then, and I don't know, the moral support of it was cool. And I tried to, and, in a lot of ways, even though, sometimes I'd go down there with him to film the battle commander, and then they'd run out of time, and I'd be like, oh, I just literally can't film today, where there was some false hope in it. But at the same time, just going down there at all at least gave me time to really start to scheme things and take a long look at the obstacles and really be able to think about it heavily until I felt like I'd come up with something. So when I went back there the next time to actually film, I could just jump in and freaking, get down to business on what I wanted. So having said that, we will play the video. So this intro right here, this is the coolest thing about this, is because this video, it did well online, but for the barracks themselves, I think they felt like, wow, this thing is such a fluke that we don't know what to do with it. And I think for a long time, it was just kind of one of those things where they're like, yeah, that did really well. That was weird that they put it on a shelf, which, by the way, I don't blame them. But for me, what's so cool is how time will do that. Time will just, you'll develop an appreciation of things that you're kind of like, wow, that was a fluke, but at the same time, the entertainment value does seem like it's there. And it just makes me happy that sometimes when you feel like, oh, that just wasn't appreciated. And then look at the title they put on it now. And that's awesome. For me, even people are going, well, it's just a title. Their greatest of all time, they mean video on the barracks. Well, I don't even care what they mean by it. The fact that they said it at all and put it on any video I ever made, I will take what I can get. All right, people, here we go. We're doing it. And so what's hilarious about this first clip is that it's actually one of the last clips Grant and I filmed. And I was trying to tell him like, hey, you know, like, I don't know why, but I definitely want this video to start with something that, you know, so many videos you like the first couple of clips just kind of like suck you in because you're like, what is even going on here? So when I did the backflip to 2 boards, it just seemed like a hideous idea in general, where I was like even turning, I remember turning around and looking at the 2 boards behind me and the height of the drop I was going off of. And I was like, this is bound to just take forever. But my excitement of kind of like getting it done and not having much time in there, that trick, I was just like, I just started winging. I wish we still had all the tries for all the slams on that, because there were some pretty great ones. Like thank goodness I wasn't super close to the far edge. But if you watch the end of this clip, you'll notice as I'm landing, I'm almost, by the time my speed is like kind of like at a variable rate of just kind of like what a rollaway should be, I'm real close. I'm pretty sure I'm real close to the other side.